Hey guys, Mila Buckley, the Hangry Woman here, and today we are going to talk about diabetes-friendly items at McDonald's. I know what you're thinking. Those two things don't sound like they go hand in hand at all, but I did a similar video to this about items at Wendy's and ways that you can kind of transform your order to make them better for you options, even though they aren't the best options. And we know that, right? Like, we know that they're not the best options, but sometimes you just have what you have and you have to make do with that. So it's better to know the options that you have rather than making a choice that might just like wreck your blood sugar entirely. Before we get started, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you like content like this. I make content about living life with diabetes on my YouTube channel. I myself have latent autoimmune diabetes adults, which is also called LATA or type 1.5 diabetes. It's a slow progressing form of type 1 and not many people know about it. So people always tell me like, that's not a real type, but it is. I am living proof. I am living this life with type 1.5 diabetes. So if you like content about diabetes in general, please be sure to subscribe and tell your friends about my channel because everybody needs a little bit of help. And with that, let's get to this video. So like I mentioned before, McDonald's is not the best option, truly, but it is an option. It is something that is prevalent around the United States, specifically around the world too, but in the United States, you can find a McDonald's just about anywhere. And you would be surprised actually at what options they do have that are somewhat diabetes friendly, some with modifications and some without. I think when I was doing my research on this and kind of thinking about what I would actually incorporate into my diet and why, like if McDonald's was my only option, I really found that breakfast was the best bet at McDonald's. And so I think one of the best meals overall that you can get, and actually let's backtrack a little bit, all of the options that I'm going to give are not the meals. So it's not the sandwich with the side. It is just the sandwich itself, which I know is tough, but it's gonna save you a lot of extra carbs, a lot of extra fat to skip the sides. The sides that McDonald's has are all fried. Every single one of them. French fries are fried, hash browns are fried. They do have fruit. It's a tiny little thing of fruit. It's honestly not worth the carbs that you would eat with them. So I would say skip the sides altogether on every single one of these options. But their sandwich options are pretty filling. What I, think about the options that I'm going to share with you are that they have a good macro breakdown. All of them are a little bit high in the wrong things, a little bit high in salt, a little bit high in fat. But if it's the only option that you have, it's going to be the best option in total. So let's start with breakfast. The Egg McMuffin with Canadian bacon is going to be one of your best bets for breakfast. There's actually a couple great options with breakfast. So the Egg McMuffin, Canadian bacon, it's 310 calories, 13 grams of fat, 30 total grams of carbohydrates, 17 grams of protein, and it also has 2 grams of dietary fiber. And I picked this because it was on the lower fat, higher protein side. Not that it's low fat, it's just lower in fat than a lot of the other options that are out there at McDonald's. And it's also a very filling breakfast. This is typically my go-to when I have to eat breakfast at McDonald's. It's the one thing that I really like. I like that it just is super tasty. It's really filling. It doesn't leave me unsatisfied or feeling like I have to eat more. And then I can get like a black coffee with it and be great for the morning. So I think, if you're gonna go for a breakfast, that Egg McMuffin is going to be one of your best choices. They do make an Egg McMuffin with sausage, but it is so much higher in fat that I don't recommend that. I recommend going with Canadian bacon. It's a little leaner, still is, high in fat, but it's more lean than you can get with other breakfast options. Their sausage burrito was another breakfast option that I thought was super interesting. 310 calories, 17 grams of fat, 25 grams of carbohydrates, and 13 grams of protein. So overall, pretty balanced. And also, again, another filling dish. Like, you get a tortilla, it's full of veggies as well. So you get like both the protein, you get some of the veggies, you get that tortilla with a lot of the carb count, egg. it's, I think, a really well-balanced meal. So if you're going for another breakfast item, I think that's another one that checks the boxes for me and feels like a good item to get, even though it might be higher in the total macros that I'm used to. I also wanted to mention that none of these items are low carb. The only way to do low carb at McDonald's is to skip all of the bread, and that's pretty much it. Because we're going to talk about another thing that I found out in my research as I was kind of looking at things. And, you know, none of these items are going to be low carb. So if you're looking for low carb at McDonald's, like the only thing that you could do really is get like an egg McMuffin with sausage or egg and Canadian bacon, take off the bun and just eat that. But I feel like there's no point in doing that because it's still not a healthy option. There's no vegetables, there's no fiber there. It's not going to keep you satiated and satisfied. So I honestly wouldn't go that route. If you're like a super low carber and you like are eating a pretty low amount of carbs per day, it's just not going to be the place for you, which is unfortunate. That's why this video isn't called low carb and diabetes friendly options at McDonald's, because there are no low carb options unless you do what I just said, and that's not going to be satisfying. I think it's a waste of money. So if it's what you have to do, it's what you have to do, but I just don't think it's the best route, in my opinion. And it's my opinion, so do what you want. Another route you can go is grabbing a Happy Meal. So McDonald's actually didn't have the full macros for Happy Meals on the website. I was surprised by that because they have the full macros for everything on the website. So I couldn't find the calories, protein, carbs, and fat for those meals. I could only find like the breakdown of everything else, which I thought was a little strange. So Happy Meals are a different way to go. They're going to be lower in your macros because they're smaller. So smaller portions, less macros. You're not going to see like as much of a blood sugar spike. Not sure that you'll be satisfied by that either as an adult because the portions are pretty tiny. But if it's, you know, something that you want, another way to go, you could do a Happy Meal. It's a smaller portion automatically just because it's made for kids. So that also is a good way to go. Drinks wise at McDonald's, stick to the regular low calorie, low carb drinks, water, black coffee. You could do diet soda if you wanted to. Everything else, you'd be drinking all of your carbs, drinking your carbs for the day sometimes because a lot of the drinks are filled with a lot of sugar. So I would say drinks, go for the basics, water, coffee, unsweetened tea. All will work for you. All will work in your benefit. You probably noticed by now, I haven't mentioned any of the burgers. And that's because, one, I think we all know if you want to lower carbs on a burger, take off the bun. Like I said, that's not always the most satisfying option, but that is an option. But the other reason that I'm not recommending burgers or chicken sandwiches, one, for burgers, they're incredibly high in saturated fat, unfortunately, and salt. And so as people with diabetes, those are two things that we have to watch because we are at additional risk for heart disease. And those two things are contributors. And so we want to be sure that we're keeping our cholesterol low by eating healthy fats. And I just found that every burger had over 30 grams of fat in it, which is like really close to the daily value. So one burger is like your daily, almost your daily intake of fats, and most of those fats are saturated fats. So to me, it felt like it wasn't a good option. It's not something that I would choose, unfortunately. The reason that I'm not recommending chicken sandwiches is similar. All of them are breaded and fried. There are 0 grilled options at this point in time for anything at McDonald's. So you cannot get grilled chicken on the menu. They are only selling sandwiches that are fried chicken. And fried chicken is delicious. I love fried chicken, but it's not the best option for you at a fast food restaurant. So I think that it's hard for me to say that that's something that I would eat or something that I would try to modify for myself, because it's almost impossible to modify when it's breaded and fried. I think another glaring omission here is salads. And I hope to maybe redo this video if McDonald's ever flips the script and goes back to offering salads. But as of 2020, McDonald's did not offer salads because of supply chain issues due to COVID-19. So interestingly enough, I don't know that a lot of people know this, but restaurants operate at very like razor thin margins because food is expensive, real estate's expensive, being able to pay people, take orders. I mean, like all restaurants, they make money just like narrowly. And so in order to be able to offer more safety protections to their employees, McDonald's looked for ways to cut costs. One of the ways that they looked to cut costs was in food. And so one of the things that they cut was salads, because McDonald's uses two different lettuces, one for sandwiches and one for salads. And so instead of using two different ones, they wanted to use one, which meant cutting out another, which meant cutting out salads entirely. So right now, if you go to McDonald's, because they have a slimmed down and streamlined menu because of some of these supply chain issues in food, you can't get a salad, like at all. There's no salad options on the McDonald's menu. So before, where you could get like I think their chicken bacon ranch was like a really great salad with some modifications. You could get all of these different kinds of salad. You had options for grilled chicken. They don't have that right now just because of those issues. So my hope one day is to remake this video and be like, they have salad options. I'm so excited for that, because having a salad really does make it easier to watch your blood sugar, to feel satisfied, to feel like you're getting a good overall pretty healthy meal and that you feel good. So hopefully we'll see one day, maybe I can remake this, with even more healthy options as their menu re-expands. We hope that it does. I say we, but I mean I hope that it does. But it's good to know that if it's your only option, a salad isn't really applicable here. It's not really available on the menu. So it's kind of tough. And then you don't have any grilled chicken options in terms of sandwiches. So you really just have fried chicken and burgers. So it's hard because you have to figure out the balance there, but there's not really a lot that you can do to swap. I hate to say that's all that I have for you for this one, but that's all that I have for you for this one. There's really not a lot of options since McDonald's has slimmed down their menu so much. So like I said, hopefully there can be an update in the future where they bring back some of those healthier options, some of those low carb options. But right now that just isn't the case. And so unfortunately, you don't really have many options at McDonald's. Breakfast is probably going to be your best bet. And as we know, that's a set amount of time. So we just have to kind of deal with it. I also wanted to add that I enjoy life in moderation. So honestly, if I want fries or I want a burger, I'm gonna get the fries or the burger. Like, I'm not going to deprive myself. I may eat half of the portion and save half for later. I may, downsize to a smaller size, but it's really up to you how you navigate these situations. I purely just wanted to give you the information so that you can decide what's best for you and what you want to do next. And this is purely based on like what I would do and what I would eat when I'm researching these menus. And so, it's helpful to know that there are options out there. In this case, there are not that many options, but you can always find something that's going to work for you. Okay guys, that's it. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I really appreciate you watching, and let me know down below in the comments what kinds of modifications you make to your meals, or if there's anything that you feel like you still eat while you're there. I'm always curious about your answers and what you think. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care and see you next time. Bye.